Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding out that a foreign military has built a base in your country without your permission. You can't question it. You can't remove it. And if you protest, your government quietly backs down. Now, imagine that same foreign power has done this in over 80 countries around the world. This isn't science fiction. This is the United States of America, today, right now, as you're watching this. America has over 800 military bases spread across the globe. That's more than every other country on Earth combined. China has 5. Russia has around 12. But America? 800. So the question is, why? Why does the most powerful nation in history need 800 bases in foreign lands? Is it for protection? Is it for control? Is it for profit? The answer is far darker and far more fascinating than most people realize. To understand America's global military network, we have to go back to 1945. World War II had just ended. Europe was in ruins. Asia was devastated. And for the first time in history, one country emerged from the war not just intact, but stronger: the United States. America had manufacturing power, nuclear weapons, the world's largest navy, and, crucially, it had bases. Hundreds of them, built during the war across Europe, Asia, and the Pacific. And here's the thing nobody talks about: America never left. Germany surrendered in May 1945. 80 years later, America still has 35,000 troops and dozens of bases on German soil. Japan surrendered in August 1945. Today, there are still 55,000 American soldiers stationed in Japan. Why did they stay? The Cold War gave the answer. The Soviet Union was rising. Communism was spreading, and Washington made a strategic decision. Rather than fight wars from home, America would pre-position its forces around the entire globe so it could project power anywhere, anytime, within hours. This was called the strategy of forward presence, and it changed the world forever. But here's what nobody explained to the public. Once you build a base, it's almost impossible to close it. The local economy becomes dependent on it. Defense contractors build supply chains around it. Generals retire and become lobbyists for it. Politicians in Washington vote to fund it. And so, decade after decade, the empire of bases kept growing. By the time the Cold War ended in 1991, the world expected America to pull back, to close its bases, to come home. Instead, something extraordinary happened. America expanded. After the Soviet Union collapsed, military planners in Washington had a choice: scale down or find a new mission. They chose a new mission. The 1990s brought the Gulf War. The 2000s brought Afghanistan, Iraq, and the War on Terror. Each new conflict required new bases, and after each war, the bases stayed. But here's the uncomfortable question. Who actually benefits from 800 military bases costing over $150 billion every single year? The answer has 3 parts. First, defense contractors. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing don't just make weapons. They build bases, maintain them, supply them, and upgrade them. Every base is a permanent revenue stream. Every new conflict is a business opportunity. These companies spent over $100 million lobbying Washington in a single year. Second, geopolitical control. Bases aren't just military installations. They're political leverage. When America has a base in your country, it has influence over your government, your economy, and your foreign policy.
The base becomes a leash, quietly, politely, but firmly. Third, oil and trade routes. Look at a map of America's bases. Now look at a map of the world's major oil pipelines and shipping lanes. They match almost perfectly. The Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, the South China Sea, the Horn of Africa. America's military network is, in large part, an energy security system for the entire Western world. But while American corporations profit and Washington gains leverage, who pays the price? The people who live near the bases. In Okinawa, Japan, locals have protested American bases for decades. Noise, pollution, crime, accidents. In 1995, 3 American servicemen committed a horrific crime against a local girl. The protests became a movement. Japan demanded the bases be removed. Washington said no. In the Philippines, America built one of its largest air bases at Clark Field. After a volcanic eruption in 1991, the Filipino government used the chaos to finally vote out the Americans. But within years, U.S. forces returned through a new agreement called the Visiting Forces Act. Bases leave, then they come back. And in countries like Pakistan, Yemen, and Iraq, American drone strikes launched from distant bases have killed civilians alongside militants, fueling generations of anger that Washington then wonders about.
For decades, the system worked, at least from Washington's perspective. America could intervene anywhere, respond to any crisis, deter any rival. But in the 21st century, cracks are appearing. First crack: the wars that bases couldn't win. America had bases surrounding Afghanistan for 20 years. It had the most sophisticated military in human history, and it still couldn't defeat a group of fighters in sandals with AK-47s. The lesson? Having a base doesn't mean winning a war. Second crack: China. Beijing has watched America's base strategy for decades and built an answer, not by copying it, but by making it obsolete. China developed hypersonic missiles specifically designed to destroy American bases within minutes of a conflict starting. In a future war in the Pacific, America's bases in Japan, Guam, and South Korea could become targets, not shields. Third crack: the cost. With America's national debt exceeding $34 trillion, politicians on both the left and the right are asking, can we afford this? The United States spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. And a growing number of Americans are asking, what exactly are we getting for that money? And the fourth crack, perhaps the most dangerous: resentment. Every country that hosts an American base lives with a permanent reminder that its sovereignty has limits. And in a world where nationalism is rising, in Asia, in the Middle East, in Africa, that resentment is turning into resistance. Philippines, Niger, Chad. In recent years, several countries have told American forces to leave or are making moves in that direction. The empire of bases that America spent 80 years building is starting to face something it never expected: the world pushing back. So, why does America have 800 military bases around the world? The honest answer is because power, once established, refuses to shrink on its own. Those bases were built for wars that ended decades ago. They are maintained by contractors who profit from them. They are defended by politicians funded by those contractors, and they are justified by threats, some real, some exaggerated, that keep the machine running. Is America protecting the world, or is it controlling it? The answer, like most things in history, is probably both. And the real question isn't whether America has 800 bases today. The real question is, in 20 years, when China's power has grown
and the world has shifted. Will those 800 bases be America's greatest strength or its greatest vulnerability? That is a question history has not yet answered. If this video made you think differently about the world, that's exactly what this channel is for. Here at War and Military History, we don't just tell you what happened. We ask why it happened, who benefited, and what it means for the world today. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now. And if you know someone who thinks they understand how the world works, share this video with them. Because the wars that shape history aren't always fought with weapons. Sometimes they're fought with bases.